Hey, welcome back to Real Estate Excellence Podcast with your host, Tracy Hayes. Best of the best is what I've promised to my listeners on every show. Today's guest is a young, motivated agent. She is showing the potential to be a top agent at Roundtable Realty here in Northeast Florida. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you're doing, you will be successful.
That sounds like a post I posted.
Said Albert Schweitzer. We're going to give him credit, but that's what Jennifer lives by. Jennifer Myrick here is from Roundtable Realty. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. I appreciate you coming by today. I just want to take a few moments to say a few words about our sponsor, Stage to Sell. Set up our nice studio here with this excellent, beautiful furniture. Stage to Sell, Jax.com. If you're looking to get top dollar, less pushback on your home inspections, and just give your buyers the confidence they're buying from the right sellers. Stage to Sell. Contact them today for a free consultation. And I'm sure, as Jennifer knows, staging a home is always the best thing to do, especially when it's vacant.
Yes.
Oh, yeah!
The buyer.
Go to high school. Let's go back to, say, you're 14, 15 years old. Where's Jen at this time? What's going on in your life?
I'm probably on a horse.
Excellent.
15 years old. I grew up riding horses. My parents, we lived by the beaches, but we got into horses. My mom got into horses, and that was her dream, and my dad made it happen for her. All of us. So we moved to the north side by Black Hammock Island off of Boney Road, if you know where that is. Middle of nowhere. We lived there. Me and my sister, we lived on 6 acres. We rode our horses. We went trail riding. It was mainly pleasure, but we did do some fun barrel racing, poles, things like that. So, I went.
You still ride today?
Unfortunately, no. My mom realized that it was a lot of work. Me and my sister moved out. She had to take care of them all by herself.
Yeah.
She didn't have anyone to help. My dad was like over it. So she, it broke her heart, but she sold a few of them, and we kept the last one until he, unfortunately, age took him.
Right.
So,
sure.
So he forever lives on the property.
Right.
I would love to get back on the saddle. It's hard to explain, but
Yeah.
it's
definitely an expensive sport. I mean,
Yeah.
Horses are not, boating or horses. I think horses are more expensive.
I think my dad knew what he was doing when he got us into horses to keep us, out of being boy crazy and everything.
Right.
So,
But I mean, but that's, you go through life and you look back in the things that your parents left you. Of course, I know you have children and what you're going to leave them and those things, but they left you. It sounds like some good memories.
yes, my parents, I think that kind of goes into why I'm in the industry I am, to have that income to give my kids what my parents gave to me. We had the horses, and not only did that teach me, not only was it fun, but it taught me a lot about work and sweat equity and a lot of, I believe, important things that kind of laid the groundwork of who I am today.
Right. Got to get up early, get out there, feed them, make sure they have
Clean
their water,
them,
clean
yeah.
them. Right. So, you start to graduate from high school. What are your aspirations at this time? What are you foreseeing yourself doing?
Oh my God, it's a blur. I know I'm only 26 years old, but thinking back to high school, my sister, she graduated early, or she graduated with college credits, and that was kind of what my parents wanted me to do as well. I didn't. I just graduated.
Right.
Graduated with honors, all of that, and then college was. I needed to go to college. That's what my parents have instilled in both of us from day one. You need to go to college. You need to get a degree. So that didn't happen for me.
Right.
My sister...
Probably saved yourself a lot of money, but go ahead.
Well, my parents were smart, and they did the Florida prepaid. Luckily, my mom was able to cash that out, so that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did 2 years, had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Right.
Didn't know what I really wanted to do. At one point, I wanted to do teaching, and I interned one kindergarten class, and that was it. I said, nope, this is not for me.
Don't feel so bad. I have a bachelor's degree in education.
Oh my goodness.
Got out and immediately went into sales. I went back. I was in between jobs. Said, I was in here in Florida, and of course they hire teachers here in Florida without certifications because I went to school in South Carolina. I just need to take some courses to get certified in Florida, and they give you so much time to get there. But trust me, I went back for 1 year, and I'm like, I'm old school. I'm the opposite of what kids think today. Kids think if you're in your face today, it's because you're trying to take them down. To me, and when I grew up, if they're not in your face, it's because they don't care about you. So that's I'm not with the PC culture of today. So I have an education degree. Obviously, I'm doing mortgages today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, I bounced back in between like what my major was, this, that, and the other. And at the end of it, I actually, I grew up, born and raised in Jacksonville. And then I ended up going to California for a year and a half, got married. Oh. We all have that first marriage you can just throw away.
I can see you're passing for a California girl.
No, I mean it was cool. It was definitely an experience to see how the other side of the world lives. But nope. Florida.
So you're just kind of going with the flow. Didn't know quite what you wanted to do. You were trying to find that.
So he was in the military and he got stationed over there. So obviously I went with him. And I was like, oh, I'll just take courses online. Well, what I found out about myself is I can't do courses online.
Yeah, it's a different.
I have to be the person that is in front of the teacher because some things don't click and I need them to explain it to me. I can't just watch a video, which I guess is very unfortunate for me because there's a lot of great online things out there right now. But basically just, I stopped going to college and eventually made it back to Florida and decided to get rid of that husband and to focus on a career. And I think the breakdown was I was a waitress, from 18 to at that point 23. And it's once you do it, it's just easy. It's natural.
Start to get into that lifestyle.
Yeah, and then they asked me, well, we need managers. Do you want to be a manager? And I think I had a midlife crisis right there because I was like, I do not not that anything's wrong with being a manager or being in the food industry.
Right.
That's just not what I wanted.
Right.
I knew that there was a cap on the income, and I knew the way I live, my mom raised a very expensive child, that I needed a career or a sugar daddy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I needed a career to do it myself because at that point, yes, I was going through divorce. I learned very quickly not to depend on anyone. And my parents have taught me that. They raised me and my sister to be very independent, which my fiance now, sometimes he just...
Well, since you just brought it up, she just got engaged. Like, I saw the pictures on Instagram, Facebook, like a week and a half ago or so.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
excellent.
exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I found him when I wasn't looking, and isn't that normally
That's
how it
the way
goes?
they always go.
I was like, no, I'm going to focus on my career, on what I want, and him and I were basically in the same walk of life, going through the same thing, and, just clicked, and it's the best thing ever. Found my soulmate. So, and he's actually been there since the beginning of my real estate career. So that's really exciting.
So you're kind of in this transition with the waitressing. You're the management now. You start thinking, when do you just kind of stumble into real estate, or is this how does it come to you?
Yeah. So I was like, well, I love looking at Zillow. I love looking at those houses 24/7. I'm on this app 24/7. I could sell a house. That's literally what I thought. I was like, let me
Were
get
you
it.
kind of like dream shopping, like, when I get there, I want to buy this house, and now you're like,
Yeah, I was like, well, how do I make this happen? Where I was in life at that point, the income I had, or the,
Right.
the family, what was going on, we couldn't get that.
Right.
Paycheck to paycheck, having to either be late on this bill or buy groceries. Like, I realized my parents did not raise me to be that way, so I was like, I need to do something with my life.
Right.
I'm not going to be a manager. So literally that night after that shift, I was looking into real estate courses. So I was looking online, trying to figure out, talking to different people. And actually the first brokerage I went to, it was a family friend. And she had suggested this course, and it was the Florida Real Estate Institute. And it was in person. It was a week of getting drilled. This is what you need to know for the state. This is what you need to know for the course.
Right.
If anyone needs to get their license, I definitely recommend them, because I'm bad at taking tests. It takes me a while, and also I have to give credit to my dad, because he stayed up and did flashcards with me and all of that. As soon as I I'm that kind of person, as soon as I put my mind to it, I'm doing it.
Right.
So no one was going to stop me. And at that point, I think my parents realized that college was not going to be my route. And my dad is very into trades. Like, he went to trade school. He's doing all of my family is doing well. And so he was all for it. And he my parents, both of them, backed me up and helped me through it. So now I have my license. I got my license, I believe, right after my 24th birthday. Went into my family friend's brokerage. I think it is a great place just to hang your license, but what I needed was a little more direction.
A little more structure.
Yeah, what is the contract? What does this mean? Now that I've been in it for 2 years, I still don't know, everything, and I know I'm not going to know everything.
You'll never know everything, yeah.
Right, there's something, each transaction, there's something different that's going to be on there, but I think I love where I'm at now, and I have, moved a couple brokerages, and it's taught me what I needed. There was one brokerage that laid the foundation for me, but it wasn't quite what I needed. Family's really important for me. Wanted to have that time for them. And then I went to another brokerage where it was all from home, and I was like, oh my gosh, you have to have really good motivation to stay on top of things.
Right. So I found, especially talking to other agents, there's definitely the one thing the real estate world offers you is, you can be that totally independent person. There's some people that can do that. Others need to come in to an office on a daily basis it's kind of like game time, getting ready to go into the now, because I'm now at work and I've got to focus on this now, and they need that structure. But I think the important thing, especially someone 2 years into your career as a real estate agent, to have that person who's been doing it 15, 20 years on speed dial, or they're in the office that you could say, hey, and run over and say, hey, this is what the client wants to do, or what's the best way to structure this on this contract. Because I see that a lot with just fielding the contracts coming in as a loan officer. Agents want to put certain, and they're like, no. A lender doesn't want to know that. No. Put that on something side over here, because we don't want to see, furniture. Furniture or subject to repairs. No, just tell them you're giving them $1,000 in concessions. That's all we want to know. Why? We don't care. Just that's what's happening. So having that mentor, especially that's done a few 100,000 contracts or whatever, and I know you got great leadership over at Roundtable.
Oh yeah.
I hear a lot of the agents from there brag about it. So,
oh yeah.
So you kind of just morphed into the real estate industry. There wasn't a aunt or uncle or brother or sister doing it. Just a friend was doing it, but you actually pursued them. They didn't pursue you, and you started working for them at the small brokerage.
Yeah, I kind of saw it as a way. I don't think I really knew what I was getting into. I just knew okay, if I have one closing, that'll pay my bills for the month.
Right.
So I didn't realize, okay, well, I can have 5 closings and then I'm, what?
Go take a week vacation.
Right. Wow, my savings account. Like I do everything, jumped head first without really thinking too much about it. But yeah, I kind of took off. I was lucky to have a cousin who got married. And then the wife's like, okay, I need a new house. And I'm like, oh,
That's
I'm
me.
I'm your girl. I'm your girl. I can sell your house and, help you buy a new one. And I'm blessed to have a great family that let me represent them through, with them knowing I was brand new.
Right. So that was your first sale, was the family member?
So yeah, he was my first listing, but he ended up buying new construction in Beach Walk. So we had to wait for that to be completed,
Right.
which was at that point it was just a couple months. I got a lead from the broker. That was actually my first sale in Fernandina. Had no idea what I was doing. The agent on the other side, bless her heart, she was so sweet. She walked me through it.
Right.
But it was definitely a learning experience.
You touched on something there that I'm hearing a lot in, like I said, I tell my listeners, I've become a podcast junkie. I'm listening to different podcasts. There's a few that I try to get every show on, but others I bounce around and just listen to their clients. But almost a common denominator, all of them, is dive right in.
Yeah.
And I think a lot, what you just said, like, I didn't even know what I was doing. I don't know a real estate agent, unless they were already working for a realtor already, that had some sort of experience of how transactions worked for, maybe been a transaction coordinator or something like that, and had done them, so had a good idea of what was going to happen. But the majority of agents fell forward, and worked through that. And you had to overcome a sense of fear, anxiety, which is awesome. And now today you feel much better about it, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Where a lot of people fear just taking that first step, right?
Yeah.
They're fearing that, oh my God, what if I get that first client and they ask me a question I don't know the answer to? Well, practice how you're going to handle that. Have that resource. I'm 15 years I've been doing mortgages. I don't know all the answers. There's always one-offs on loans, like, yeah, I did something like that like 10 years ago, or I heard one of my teammates did something like that. Let me research that and get back, because we don't know everything, and there are crazy situations that pop up, and that we don't need to fill our front of our brain with, because they don't happen a lot. But we know there's a resource, a good broker, or our YouTube video now, right? You go
Yeah.
to YouTube and learn everything. So what do you think is your biggest strength?
I think my biggest strength is I have a servant's heart. So no matter what, if you're my client, I'm going to fight to the death for you. I truly care about the person, and I want to make sure that they are getting the best deal. If it's not a lot of times we'll get a buyer, and honestly, they're not ready. Not in this market. And I would rather save them heartache and a lot of money just by saying, why don't we bookmark this, put a tab in it, and I'll touch back with you in a couple months, because I don't want to put you in a worse situation.
Into a home.
Right, before you're ready.
Right.
So I think for me, I just have a lot of heart, which also... I wear my emotions on my sleeve, so if I have a lot of heart,
I noticed that on your Instagram.
I feel every emotion before they feel it,
Right.
So I'm working on, trying not to be so attached to it, but I think my biggest strength is I'm going to make it work for them. I am truly looking out for their best interest, and they're not just a paycheck.
Right.
So,
do you find now? I don't. How much new construction have you done? Because obviously that's pretty much all that's left right now. But
I'm the self-proclaimed new construction queen.
Okay. So here's my take on some of the situations, because obviously we work with a large national public builder here, so I see some of this stuff come across, and there's a slight battle between site agents and agents, and that's a whole nother subject. I don't even want to get into that one right now.
It's not open that.
Yeah, it's not open there. The typical agent that I see, the perception that I'm given, and again, this is not all of you. For those listening to you that are working with me now, if this is not you, then it's not you. But they walk into a new construction site model as if they're walking into a retail store, Saks Fifth Avenue or whatever. Just stand back and let the site agent take over, let the builder take over, and yeah, I understand the builder has a lot of control, majority of control of the situation, but there's certain things, that the agent needs to step up of, especially, when you start, going through the different walkthroughs as the new construction, to have a little bit of knowledge, to point out the nail pops that you see in the wall that maybe they don't, and to go that little extra mile. What is your thought on that? And when you're going through that whole process with
Well, I love new construction. I think it is great for a new home buyer, first home buyer, just because there's a lot of warranties that the builder offers. There's a lot of protection to them.
Yep.
And I think it's very important for them to have their own representation, because at the end of the day, the site agent is looking out for the builder's best interest, and my job is to look out for the buyer's best interest. And seeing how I have gone through many transactions with builders, I know there's some questions or there's some incentives that I can get for them that the builder has, but they're not going to offer it.
Right.
They're not going to say, oh yeah, you want some blinds? I'll add some blinds to the purchase.
Right.
I mean, right now this market's a little different.
Right.
Back when I first started, they were giving more incentives than they are now, but I think it's important to have the representation, because with the walkthroughs, I went to one in April, and there's just things you pick up on, like it was a crack in the molding, not the end of the world, but we're doing a week before closing if they can get it fixed.
Yeah.
And these people were perfectionists, so they wanted their house to be perfect.
Yeah.
And there's things like I always try to, like little things that I picked up on. Anyone who does do new construction, you have that 1-year warranty most of the time for anything. So I tell them at month 10, go ahead and get an inspection. And, I have a great inspector, Grace.
Right.
Shout out.
Yeah.
I have a great inspector. Go and get it inspected. Anything that pops up on the list, you give it to the builder, and you're still in the warranty, and they'll get it fixed.
Right.
Because, once you start living in a house, you start seeing things settle, and it's not the end of the world, but if you have that warranty.
The inspection, when it comes down to the dollars, do you find some clients are devaluing that inspection even on an existing home, though? Just to kind of change. I mean, because I think they look at, as busy as the inspectors are, obviously, just like appraisals have probably gone up over the last, the appraisals gone up probably $75 easily on just a standard appraisal in the last few years. Of course, they were at one point for 10 years. So for them to go up, they've gone up in price. I'm sure home inspections go, because they're under such demand, supply and demand. It's a simple thing. But when you get that buyer that starts looking at the dollars versus the inspector, maybe Austin, who you might recommend, they're looking at the dollar amounts, and they're going, oh, and then they're not getting the inspection that they really need for that home.
So I guess it just really depends on the kind of buyer. If you have a veteran buyer, I always give a couple recommendations. Check all of them out, see which one you think is a good fit. Some people may not see the value of being a one-stop shop. I think that's the best thing ever. Some people may want a smaller inspector, because they're like, well, I don't need all the bells and whistles, blah, blah, blah. I've been through this. I know what to look for. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Hands off right there. Like, I gave you the recommendations. It's up to you to figure it out. I mean, I would hope no one devalues an inspector, because at the end of the day, it's $600 or $600,000.
Yeah, right.
So,
or it could be a $6,000 repair. that you didn't see that maybe you could have gotten fixed before closing, or there was water damage or something that you didn't see, and all of a sudden when you sign that line at closing and they hand you the keys, there's no right of rescission, there's no 30-day drive and bring it back to the lot thing.
Right.
You own that home when you put the ink to the paper on closing day.
Yeah, and I think you actually brought up a good point. I think Austin offers that. After you have like a warranty kind of on your inspection, if something does pop up, I think you can go back to him. I think I heard something.
If there's something he missed or something, you can buy the insurances. That's a great conversation. I told him the other day I'm going to have him back on maybe in August, because our show lasted an hour last time.
I know. I'm halfway through it.
Yeah. So, is there a realtor or a senior realtor or broker that you look up to right now as your go-to person?
Yes, my broker, Howard. He just put out a fire for me yesterday. I was back and forth talking to many different people for 5 hours, and I think I came from a place before where if your broker was involved, that was kind of bad. So he was able to help me through the situation. And then at the end of it, he called me. I think first things first, he's a dad for sure. And I had that dad conversation where he called me. He's like, I want you to know, you can, like, it is not, my job is to help you. If there's any issue, call me. It is not seen as bad, is not seen as you not knowing anything. We're not ever going to judge you.
Great attitude.
Yes, he's a great mentor, broker, leader, whatever you want to call him.
Let me tell you, I'm not quite twice your age, but I will say this: a broker is a manager, right? In any office, you'd have a manager. A broker to me is that manager. If that broker is not willing to step in and help you close a deal, resign. You don't need to be in the business. Go back to being an agent, because that broker, as any manager needs to do, they need to be able to step in, and especially a young agent, 2 years in the business, you're running into a situation, and none of us have all the tools. None of us do. We gain tools over time. At 51, I have a lot of tools. I don't necessarily need them, but there are times where I wouldn't say daily, but at least once a week, I'm walking into my manager's office and I'm saying, hey, let me throw this at you. This is what's happening. This is how I want to handle it. What would you do? And to get that feedback, and of course strengthen your mental mindset. They've got your back. Go forward. Or that manager says, do you want me to make the call? Do you want me to make the call for you?
Yeah.
That makes you, that is a true manager, in this case broker, that I can see why Howard is very popular with his team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you go from the mom and pop, you go to a little bit larger brokerage. We just talked about. I guess that's where the management wasn't so willing to step in. What made your transition over to Roundtable? What was your progress there?
So, nothing detrimental happened at my other larger scale brokerage. Right. They treated me well. I think there was just a little bit of anxiety and fear I put behind myself. And the workload, I can handle the workload. It's just, I think I had a shift on what was more important in my life, and that was my kids.
Right.
My relationship. Like, I was working 7 days a week, which everyone does in this industry, but I'm talking like on showings, doing this, that, and the other, not home, not spending time, and then had the fear that if I did take time off, it would be bad. So I think it was just my switch. Priorities changed. I realized I wanted to spend more time with them, so I went to.
They had more of a superstructure.
They did. They had a superstructure. I think you can call it a boot camp. You can call it a boot camp. It lays down the foundation. You learn a lot at a quick pace.
Yeah.
You learn it. You live it. You breathe it. That is your life.
And when you're not being paid by the hour, you kind of want it that way to a point, right? Because you want to learn quickly, right, and then hopefully start making money.
Yeah. And I had great success there. Definitely not going to knock that. Learned a lot. I wouldn't be where I'm at without that. I just kind of had to switch in what was most important to me. I mean, people get into real estate. Most women get into real estate because it is flexible. So you can go do whatever you want with your kids, you know, go to the school events, make dinner, this, that, and the other, go on showings, find someone to, you know, childcare.
You're setting your schedule on a daily basis, and they call up and hey, I want to go see the house. I'll be available at 4:30 when someone's able to pick up the kids or something like that, right? That's up to them.
I mean, at this point,
because you don't have total flexibility because you still got to respond to your clients.
Yeah,
but you do have some control of managing around the life stuff.
And to be honest, I can find them to go somewhere really quick. Like, I am still very, very flexible. It's just I can now go to the beach without fear of losing my job. You know, or I can spend time, I can go on a getaway. That's very important.
Because you you need your phone.
Wherever my computer's at, I can work. And I have a hotspot on my phone, so I don't ever do the driving. My fiance does, so I can get to work.
I've seen you do that. I've seen her do it on Facebook. You guys got to follow Jen on Facebook. You will see her. Yes, she does her life shots.
Yeah. I think actually it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was going to bring that up. I think for people now in the business, it is really important to let people in on your life, not like personal, but just let everyone in on a day-to-day basis.
Know you're real.
Yeah.
Know you're real. There's again, going back, listening the personal development in the podcast and so forth, and I think much as we Ryan Serhan, she already has the book, so I can't give it to her. She already has it, but to let people understand that. To put the stuff on there, you know, you went out to the restaurant, or you're at the beach, or you're showing the Florida lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
You know, that I think a lot of people miss out on that. And we can expand on that on a totally another hour. But they're saying on the podcast right now, those agents out there or loan officers or whatever you're in, to show yourself as a real person. Hey, I just had a great dinner at XYZ restaurant, or hey, this is a great place to take your kids for recreation or have a birthday party or whatever. And that bonds you a little bit more, because we have become detached from people now, but they are able to go online and learn a little bit about you, listen to this podcast, for instance, and learn a little bit more about you. So you're just about 2 years into your career. If you were to go back from the day you finished that course today, just turn back time with the knowledge that you have, what would be something you would have done a little differently?
I probably would have gone to that big brokerage first. Not waste, a couple months. Not that was a bad brokerage that I was at initially. I just needed to learn. And I think I would have been able to hit the ground running even quicker, which I did hit the ground running pretty quick. But, with going through the divorce, living with my parents, I did also work at Chili's while I was first starting out, just because, I had some bills.
Some income.
So, my parents, they can only help out so much. So I think I would have probably, head first, pedal to the metal, gone there. So
your recommendation to another young person like yourself, getting started, research that brokerage that's going to have the people around, the resources at your fingertips, so to speak, so it can accelerate your learning curve.
Yeah. Essentially, you just want to be on a really good team. The team I'm on now, the Cotton Team 904, we've all worked together at some point before we got onto the team together. Right. So we all, had that good training. And I think, actually, I probably, now that I do know what I know, I kind of jumped the gun on that one. Roundtable Realty also does have teams that are set up to where they can help you. And that's the whole structure, people before property, not just, for your clients, but for the agents themselves. They have they're always doing events. They're always having, outside, people coming in to educate us on, inspections, this, that, and the other.
Should I have Howard on the podcast?
Yeah.
Can we call out Howard?
I can call him right now.
Howard, I'm calling you out. I want to get you scheduled up. I know we've had Bailey on, and now Jen. Everyone's talking about Howard. He's definitely a person of to know in
Yes.
Northeast Florida real estate for sure. I think a lot of people know Howard, just like they know some of the popular title companies and so forth. Howard is definitely a broker that when you mention his name, people know at least know of him, and we definitely want Howard. So I'm calling you out to come on the show, Howard. So that is actually, I mean, that's great advice. And Jen, if someone was a new agent listening to this right now, maybe just getting out of college or kind of in the situation that you were in, trying to find what they wanted to do, would you reach out? Would you consult with them and chat with them and kind of tell them about some of the pains that we've talked about here?
Yeah. So I actually, since I am so transparent on, social media, things like that, I have had many people reach out to me, and I think the biggest thing I tell them is to research your brokerage, find out what's most important to you, such as lead generation, transaction coordinators, this, that, and the other. Find out what's most important to you.
Staff, right?
Yeah, you can't, I guess some people can, but starting out, you need everyone and anyone who can help you to help you go up and quick. Well, I can't talk. Go quickly.
Go quickly. Yeah. What is your biggest challenges just on a day-to-day basis? Just whatever it is. I don't. It might even be daycare because I know you have 3 kids. What is your biggest challenge as an agent that you have to deal with every day? Something you got to be thinking about.
It is definitely just making sure I stick to my time blocking schedule. Tom Ferry talks about it. Probably every video he has. Time blocking, making sure you set aside time for prospecting because that is your bread and butter. So I think the hardest would be, with 3 kids home for summer, would be finding that time. But with me being on the team that I'm at, I do get a little escape 3 days a week to go into the office, to really set, my mind to it, to make my calls, have any questions, talk shop. And I think that's also very important, having those people and just listening to those conversations of what happened in their deal, because it could
happen to you.
And
I totally agree.
And you would know how to maneuver around it and find the solution quicker and without the heartache that they went through. So I think it's very important, to have that.
I think people underestimate, and this goes for loan officers too, because we've got some young loan officers here, and with COVID, they kind of got used to working at home.
That's not fun.
I worked from, I put 3 years in a call center, so high volume, lots of credit reports. 3 years in a call center, one of the largest, now the largest mortgage lender in the country, is like 10 years in retail, and as far as the number of transactions you do. And when you get away from the office, which I did about 3 years into it, I worked from home for my 15-year career, probably for at least almost like 8 years. So almost more than half of my career, I've actually worked from home. And there comes a point where you lose those interactions that, if you want to call it water cooler talk, but they're important to hear issues that people are having on other loans or other transactions, and so you don't make the same mistake, or you know how to handle it or who to go to if that arises in your situation.
Yeah,
it's very important. So yeah, getting into the office is important. Let's talk about this. This is a good interview question, like a job interview type question. Tell me about your most difficult, because you've had to have one of those clients where you're like, oh my God, I'm glad that's over. We all do. It happens, okay? All salespeople have that client. You don't have to mention names or where it happened or what they bought. But what was the challenge, the challenging client gave you, and what did you do to overcome it?
Trying to think back. I think some of these transactions, you put them in a box and you don't think about them again.
You're right, yeah.
I think it is, recently, it's more of getting those questions that is normal. That's just kind of normal how it's processed. It has to be signed. It has to be written that way. It's more of, I think, me overcoming. just try to answer the question. I try to get the other person, like the lender, so to say, to answer it on a three-way so they can hear it. And just
a third-party source.
Yeah, just kind of managing everyone's emotions. It is very mentally exhausting, both seller, buyer, in a transaction.
Well, because you get one client doesn't say boo. They sign the contract, and next thing you know, you're at closing, and then they don't nothing, and then you got another one that's like calling you every day.
Yeah.
If not every hour.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind that. Like, my job is to, I think, really make sure emotionally they feel they're okay, and they're also being taken care of, and they feel that I am, taking care of them. But yeah, those hard ones, I think you just kind of go through it, and once you're done, you try not to think about it again.
All right. You invited over NEFAR, Northeast Florida Association of Realtors. They invite you over to speak to a bunch of new agents. What would you share with them?
What would I share with them?
None of them have done a transaction. They just got out of the school, and they're in this, they have their class, intro class at NEFAR. They all became new members. What would you share with them?
Well, I hope they have people experience. I guess I would share with them, buckle up.
Yeah.
Buckle up. Every transaction's different. Every person is different. Try to be a chameleon, fit to their personality. Find what you match with the most.
Do you fall back on your waitressing days on some of these situations? Because those are kind of like mini transactions. Obviously, real estate, you're with them for 30, 45, 60 days, or 6 months if you're going new construction or something. We're obviously waiting a table. Hopefully, within an hour, they're in and out. Right?
Yeah.
But do you kind of fall back on some of that, on how you not only talk to them, but how you mentally stay centered?
Yeah, I think honestly, I've been listening to your podcast, and everyone in my office, most of them have had background in hospitality or food industry, restaurant, and I think it's a great skill. I think everyone at one point in their life they should do it so they can learn how to multitask with everything, and also how to not necessarily manage people, but manage yourself as well on how you're going to interact with those people.
I tell my wife and kids they need to experience washing dishes in the restaurant. That's what they need to experience.
Oh, the dish pit is a terrifying place.
Who has had the most influence on your career?
Who has had the most influence on my career? I feel like it's not just one single person. I think it's just been a collage of many people. There's a lot of great realtors I know, I look up to, I've worked beside. I don't think it's one single person. I know right now my two team leads, Caitlin and Josh, they definitely love how they structured their team and how they are truly there for us, and they just want us to succeed, and it's not just you need to close this house, just close the house and that's it. No, they care about us, and they always want us to do personal developments, and we always have all of that fun.
Who does the hiring, Caitlin or Josh?
Well, I don't want to say it on air, but I think I know who wears the pants in that one.
I'm beginning to wonder, because I saw some team shots, and if I was Josh, he stands in the middle of all these very attractive ladies.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, is Josh hiring or is Caitlin hiring?
Oh, no. No, I think, honestly, every person they've hired, they've either worked beside or one of us has worked beside them. So it's all kind of just word of mouth. But, I mean, we also all look good. So.
Okay. All right, so let's, we talked a little bit about earlier before the show. Talk to that possible buyer client that's in front of you. Why should they call Jen to either handle their listing or their selling? Here's your elevator speech, so to speak. Just express if that buyer is listening to you, why should they call you?
I feel like they should call me because I have had quite a big success in a short amount of time, and either people are going to burn out or they're going to keep going. I feel like I've always kept going, and I have a lot of experiences I've had a lot of transactions with off-the-wall things, and we've closed them. If I don't know the answer, I have a team of people who are going to help me. I have a broker who's been in the business close to almost as long as I've been alive. No, not that long. Not that long.
Close though. Howard's got to be as old as I am.
He's been in the business. Him and Keith, they are, the perfect duo for their brokers. So if I don't know it, I'm not afraid to give him a call, and I'm going to tell you, he's either going to know it or he's going to know who to ask.
Right.
So, I feel like I have the heart, the drive. I almost get obsessed with finding them the home.
Right.
Can't sleep at night. I'm on the MLS, like, this one.
The most simplest thing, and for those listening out here or watching, it's amazing. And I think you and I are probably on the same page here. When the phone rings, I hope I'm not causing my audio. I keep hitting my mic. When the phone rings, pick it up.
Oh, yeah.
You are dealing with, and one of the things when you were talking earlier, I was thinking about when something another agent was talking about being a therapist. Not in a negative way. You got to realize you're dealing with, next to giving birth to your child, you're buying a home. It's an emotional decision. You're thinking, is this the right home? Is this the right place? Is it the right schools? Is the rest of my family going to be happy? Am I, the other side, am I going to impress my parents? Are they going to agree? Everyone wants that everyone to, be behind them. Obviously you want to bring your parents or your family over, and they go, oh, what a lovely house. This is such a great neighborhood, and how important those things are. So there's a lot of emotion involved.
Oh, yeah.
And, I tell my clients, I prefer later in the evening, text me unless there's something like, oh my God. If it's a text, I will respond to it. I generally clear my emails and texts before I go to bed anyway. So tomorrow I wake up in the morning and hopefully there's only 2 or 3 in there. If somebody's I got an email at 2:40 in the morning, a closing disclosure last night. So
oh my goodness.
It's the last day of the month. So to answer the phone and how we impress clients, buyers, borrowers, is just picking up the phone, and that includes text message, or simply responding to their email to let them know you heard them. Maybe you have the answer, and it's just a real quick, oh, that's no problem, that'll be Tuesday or whatever, and now they can go to sleep because it is a huge decision. We do it every day. You're doing every transaction, and when you get old like me, you've done it enough times, and sometimes you get a little hard from that standpoint. You got to remember, they're only doing this a handful of times, if they do it once or twice in their entire life, and it's a big emotional decision, especially if you got a newly married couple that's never done it before together, right? So they're both they don't know how the other one's going to react, what's the other one's concerns, and that sort of thing, because they just haven't been together long enough and bought that other homes together, right? So these are big decisions, but just simply pick up the phone or respond to their text message, even if it is 9:30 at night. Don't get this I'm off of work stuff. We get paid good money. Now, granted, there are times I've picked up the phone and said, hey, I'm not in my office right now. I'm at my son's basketball game. But when this is over, I should be home within about an hour or so. I'll log in and I'll get the answer for you and get it back. Just give them a peace of mind, and it does wonders.
Oh,
just pick up the phone.
Absolutely. If you're not picking up the phone, someone else is.
Yeah, that's exactly what will happen. Because they don't have today's world. They don't have any patience.
No.
There's no callback. What are you doing? 2 years, so you didn't experience obviously the 2008. So you were probably 13 years old. Something like that, 12, 13 years old, 2008?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you haven't really felt a true recession or where people are falling out of the real estate industry. But obviously COVID hit last year, and now we're in this super hyper intensive market this last, say, 90, 120 days roughly of going. What are you doing differently today than, say, last year at this time from a business standpoint?
From a business standpoint, I would say, I mean, I was following up. That's not even the real important. I've been structuring my offers very creatively. You know, right now, people are selling their firstborn children to buy a house. So, you know, it's very important to have the knowledge of what's an escalatory. It's insane to me that people don't know what an escalatory clause is,
right.
Or they don't know that we should set money aside for the appraisal gap, or you know, buy or pay the seller's closing. Like, there's so many ways you can write a creative offer, and you know, you just have to align yourself with the agent that has that knowledge. So I think that is what I'm doing differently. I'm making sure, like, if I send it to Josh and Caitlin or even Howard, like, how can I win this house for them? How creative can we be on this contract?
So powerful. That is powerful.
Just having a creative contract, and really just managing the, you know, the emotion, and also kind of setting the expectation, like, from the get-go. Like, listen, you're not going to get this house by asking for closing costs and $20,000 off the list price. This isn't last year or the year before. You know, this isn't when your mom or your dad bought a house. This is completely different. This is a different market. And I, you know, most of my career, not most of it, but the last 6 months of my career, you know, it's been, not even, I guess the whole 2 years, it's been ramping up to this.
Right.
So, like, I did have experience where it was a little bit slower, where the houses were sitting for a couple months, and you were able to get closing, and you were able to get off list price. But, you know, it kind of slowly, went up to where now, if you want this house, look, how serious are you? These are the expectations. Like, if you can't do that right now, not to discourage you, but we may have to either find a house that's been on the market a little bit longer, or maybe, you know, I don't want to say wait.
Jen, that's, you know, listening to you there, you're spot on, because talking to other agents, and obviously you are getting great coaching that you look up to and accept the coaching, but you're right. The escalatory clause that you know on the pricing, listing agents don't even know what that is or how to handle it, and to have your 24 months roughly into your career, and you're getting it because you've teamed up with people who are, well, if we want to say, they're more experienced, smarter than you in the business right now, because they've got 20 years and you got 2 years. And today, right now, is a test for every agent.
Absolutely.
The answer to being creative on your offer is the answer 110%, because that's exactly what you have to do. And then bracing your clients for, you're going to have to go over. The appraisal may not come in. I've got agents that are negotiating like furniture pieces, for crying out loud. I had one telling me that the offer went in, and the guy offered to pay for the mover, to move the sellers out. I mean,
write that one down.
Yeah, and that's the creative. 2 men in a truck. That's I'm going to drop for my mover, my preferred mover. So, I've got these 2-minute warning questions. I officiate football, so I call them 2-minute warning here. Now I'm going to just some off the wall questions. I think I know the answer to this one from you.
I think it is who you know. But it also a little bit in what you know.
Right.
Who you know can give you that confidence, and then you'll know. Know what you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, in this case, it's who you knew. You knew they had knowledge, and you've teamed up with them. They're in your circle, right? They say the 5 people around you should, make you up, and you shouldn't be. If you're talking about dollars, if you're the richest guy of the 5, you're in the group. You need to find another group, right? Yeah. And in your case, the real estate knowledge, because you're new, and that's life. And you've teamed up yourself with people who got a lot of experience, very reputable in their industry, and are squeezing that knowledge out of them. That's awesome. Do you like listing or buying side? What you prefer? If nothing else you could do for the rest of your career, what would you list or buy?
That one is hard. I know a lot of people say listing, and listing they're two different animals, I think. I like listing because you are kind of more in the driver's seat. You're not necessarily calling the shots, but you do all the work, you put on MLS, and then the other agent, gives us an offer, we accept all that, and then it's just kind of just going through. I think there's not as much legwork in listing. Well, that's not even true because there's still a lot of legwork in that. But buying, I don't know. I like being a buyer's agent just because you meet so many people, you connect with them, they become your friends, your family. So I love that connection. Not that you can't have that with a listing, but you spend a lot of time with the buyers, and sorry, the phone never stops. I feel like there's more time to have the relationship with the buyer because you're spending more time with them. But if you're trying to accelerate your career, you spend more time with the buyer.
You want to have a number of listings.
Yeah.
You have to have
you
a
still
number
want to have your listings.
Because there are traps out there that buyers come in and hopefully they're not represented. Maybe you get both sides, right? Yeah. So you're going out with your fiance, Jumbo Shrimp or the Jaguars?
We are season ticket holders to the Jaguars.
Oh, awesome.
So we're going to the Jags.
All right. What's on your travel bucket list?
Somewhere tropical and warm that's not in this country.
Well, I am putting out there, I am taking a cruise at Thanksgiving. It's 8 days, leaves Miami, comes back to Port Canaveral. It's going all the way down to Bonaire, which is a great diving spot. Bonaire, and if I pronounce it right, Curacao, are sister islands of Aruba. So that's actually my immediate travel bucket list, and I'm actually looking forward to Thanksgiving. Whole week of Thanksgiving, I'm not cooking the turkey. Those guys on the ship will cook the turkey. I ain't getting involved in that. We're shutting our phones off for 8 days.
That is exciting for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, my fiance, he's like, we're going to go to Bora Bora on our honeymoon. I'm like, okay, well, I got somewhere else.
I went to Tahiti for my honeymoon. We did not go out to Bora Bora. We regret that, so we have to go back. But the one thing I did do, and it's one thing we're going to do in Bonaire and the cruise, is I went and we got dive certified.
That's going to be exciting.
They, you guys will check out the very fancy resort hotels out there, and they generally have a dive boat. It's total. What do they call it?
Is it chartered?
No. Resort diving.
Oh, okay.
Resort diving. That's what we're like sandals. You got the guys there going to help you put it on it, but you're not diving in. I mean, we did do one in sandals where we did a full open water and got certified. We did a bunch of dives to 100 feet, but most of the dives are behind coral reefs, 20, 30 feet max. Very simple dives, but the water out there is so crystal clear. So I highly recommend it. Just even if you just when you just take trips, it's not like you need to go buy equipment or anything because they got it all there.
Right.
That type of thing. But definitely been there. If you had a dream career, you're young, so I mean, if there's anything else you could do in this world, what would it be?
I have no idea. Anything I could be.
Anything.
I mean, I didn't even know I was going to be a real estate agent until it happened. I'm just kind of going with the flow here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe a celebrity? No, that's not fulfilling. I need something that's going to fulfill me and knowing that I'm helping other people out. So I have no idea. I haven't really thought of that. It's all or nothing here in real estate.
As a young person, you have a lot. I mean, obviously you do a lot on social media, and I see a lot of your life going on. And you got the kids, and now of course recently got engaged, and you're busy. You're a busy lady. How you have time to even envision some of the things you are able to envision.
I don't.
Late at night while you're asleep, maybe if you get a few hours there. But all right, I know Daniel's put on the screen for the Facebook, but for the audio listeners that are going to be listening on the podcast within the next couple of weeks or so, how can someone reach out? What's the best way to reach Jen?
You can either call me at 904-314-4339 or send me an Instagram message, and my handle, I don't know if it's on the screen, but it's Jen Sells the 904.
Okay. Jen Sells the 904 on Instagram. This will be in the show notes on the podcast, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please take some time to rate the podcast, preferably a 5-star. And if you want to say something nice, really appreciate that. Just like any of the social media, they want those hits. They want to know who you like to listen to, and I like to know, give some feedback. Should I spend 2 hours with Jen today and ask her more questions? I don't know, whatever it may be, but I appreciate the feedback and some of the feedback we've had on the episodes. Jen, I appreciate you coming by today.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Daniel?